Good day, everyone. My name is Ronke Olaitan Adeshino from the Department of Information Studies, University of Zululand. I'm here to present the paper titled Tacit Knowledge in the Knowledge Economy, Mapping Strategies for the African Nation. My presentation outline includes introduction, presenting the problem statement, aim of the study, with research objectives, then discussing the methodology. Then the results and discussion will be presented before the conclusion, recommendations, and selected references. The knowledge economy emerged as a result of the increase in the knowledge intensity and globalization of national economic activities. Modern economy actually depends on effective knowledge management, which has to do with acquiring, generating, distributing, and applying knowledge in modern societies and organizations. The knowledge economy can therefore be described as when administration and societies create, apply, transfer knowledge more effectively and efficiently for better economic and social development. In the knowledge economy, the main engine of economic growth is knowledge. According to Dama, Rauti, and Hantila, for developing countries, knowledge offers the possibilities for them to actually shortcut development phases, to leapfrog technologies in order to integrate into the global economy by becoming more attractive to international investors. However, studies have shown that developing nations will most likely be sidelined unless they boost the knowledge contents of their economies through learning and innovation. It is also shown that developing nations, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, that in spite of the progress they have made, they still rank low in their knowledge economy global ranking. In other words, Africa requires knowledge-based approach to development. Most countries in Africa are found to still have the smallest share of digital knowledge production. It is therefore necessary for African nations to improve locally produced knowledge in order to be able to transform into the knowledge economy. And this activity goes beyond just increasing internet connectivity. It can be said that there is dearth of literature on tacit knowledge promoters that can boost knowledge economy pillars of the African nation. Therefore, given the applauded influence of tacit knowledge in the knowledge economy statuses of various nations, this study therefore explores how tacit knowledge can be promoted to position the African nation in the knowledge economy environment. To achieve this aim, the study reviews extant literature to establish the status of the African nation as a knowledge economy, to identify some pillars of selected knowledge economies, to describe the influence of tacit knowledge on suggested pillars of the African economy, and to develop a synthesis of strategies for tacit knowledge management for the African nation. For this study, Google Scholar was explored to review relevant literature, and the search terms used were tacit knowledge, knowledge economy, and the African nation. And content analysis was used to identify knowledge economy pillars that African nation can leverage on. Various developed knowledge economies such as Australia, Brazil, China, Finland, Netherlands, and Singapore were actually explored to see the pillars that enabled them to be able to leapfrog into the knowledge economy. And the literature findings reveal that these pillars were education, ICTs, innovation, and using skilled human capital. On education, the OECD actually report that education will become the center of knowledge-based economy. That means that education is very key as far as the knowledge economy is concerned. And in order to enhance economy, Mustafa 2016 actually suggests that there should be the establishment of research centers and think tanks should be formed. Universities, community groups, and private enterprises should be included in assessing global knowledge, which can be integrated and adapted to local requirements in order to create the kind of knowledge that can meet local needs. All these are to stimulate brainstorming sessions and the use of communities of practice, both of which are tacit knowledge management processes. Still on education, it is observed that traditional education is mostly about disseminating existing best practices and research evidences, but these are inadequate for success in schools in the knowledge economy. There is the need to generate better professional knowledge, which is tacit in nature and requires high levels of professional talk and sharing among teachers. The implication of this is that for a more productive education system, it is necessary to create an avenue where teachers can share and externalize their tacit knowledge. Africa actually needs a platform in education through which other scholars can learn from the tacit knowledge of more prolific scholars. It is not enough to acquire the best available knowledge globally. It is important that local knowledge be created by building on indigenous knowledge through research and development. The study also found that ICTs are enabling factors to acquire, to store, to process, to retrieve, and exchange information and knowledge in the knowledge economy. The study also reveals that economies that are primarily driven by innovation are usually more advanced and more competitive compared to economies that depend mostly on the natural resources to sustain their economies. Innovation using existing knowledge in the local domestic setting can also be linked to effectively using and sharing tacit knowledge. Therefore, it is safe to conclude that tacit knowledge actually drives innovation and the knowledge economy. As far as skilled human capital is concerned, it is realized that the knowledge that generates innovation, and competitive advantage is actually embedded in human beings. Such that even in the area of the 4IR, it is noted that the practical knowledge that workers have cannot be coded and cannot be replaced by smart technologies. The intelligence of technological systems is actually mapped out by human beings. In other words, human beings cannot be replaced because they have the ability to react flexibly and creatively to unforeseen events, which technological systems cannot do. Intellectual assets and resources will be better used if economies can apply knowledge management techniques, to leverage their human resources management, which will encourage the free flow of knowledge. Tacit knowledge and skills are attributes of the human capital. This implies that African nations that desire the knowledge economy platform should actually invest in their human resources. And this can be done, and this has been done by other knowledge economies such as China, Finland, and Singapore. Looking at the 4 pillars identified from the established knowledge economies, it was said that they are education, ICTs, innovation, and skilled human capital. Therefore, this study created synthesized a strategy, for African nations to build on those pillars in order to leverage into the knowledge economy. So for skilled human capital, the identified factors are the need for platforms for knowledge sharing, multi-stakeholder knowledge sharing, virtual collaboration, using communities of practice, establishing alumni networks, ensuring that programs like apprenticeship, mentoring, storytelling, expert interviews, best practices, reviews of lessons learned, and brainstorming sessions are in place in national economies. And for education, it is advocated that there should be indigenous knowledge, included in education curriculum. And then there should be efforts to ensure that there's knowledge creation. There should be knowledge synthesis centers, collaborative learning, technical information centers, productivity organizations, public research institute, interactive learning processes, interactive networks of people and institutions. Research schools should be established and internship programs should be encouraged. And for ICTs, it is important to have indigenous knowledge management systems, tacit knowledge management systems, knowledge dissemination mechanisms, Internet of Things, and ICT tools to be able to manage the other pillars as identified. And on innovation, it is important to have research centers, research universities, knowledge experts, and consultants. These are the facilities that will be able to keep up with knowledge revolution, and they'll be able to tap into global knowledge that can be adapted to local needs. For all these pillars of the knowledge economy to be facilitated, it is important to have basic technological infrastructure apart from ICTs, and then there should be norms and standards, quality control, economic policies, knowledge management policies, and intellectual property rights. In conclusion, Africa's contribution to global scientific knowledge stands at 1.1%, and that is the lowest in the world, according to Hadoti 2019. So far, it is established also by the same author that Africa has no synthesis centers for collaborative research for interdisciplinary groups of specialists and experts, such as communities of practice. Africa is said to need a knowledge-based approach to development, according to Asongo 2017. Internet access has been seen not to be enough to transform economies in sub-Saharan Africa. Most African countries actually tend to still be at the bottom of the list, even though some have tried to improve on internet access, but this has been seen not to be enough because the continent still has the smallest share of digital knowledge production. A total shift into an economy that is dependent on knowledge, technology, and human capital may not be immediately feasible in Africa as long as the continent relies so much on extractive industries and agriculture with little emphasis on knowledge creation. Africa needs more concentrated efforts aimed at improving locally produced knowledge. This will help to transform into the knowledge economy. And like I said before, this actually goes beyond talking about internet connectivity and bandwidth. The study also highlighted the fact that economies that succeed as knowledge economies, they actually create knowledge, and that is a product of tacit knowledge management. Innovation, ICTs, skilled human capital, and education were established as pillars of knowledge economies that the African nation can leverage on. Knowledge, especially tacit knowledge, is an asset that Africa has in abundance. This can be seen by the high level of talent drain that we have from this continent to other parts of the world. This study revealed that this asset can be leveraged on, provided that there are strategies as presented in Table 2 and facilitating conditions in place. Of particular interest to this study is the finding that tacit knowledge promoters, restructured educational system, and indigenous local knowledge play a lot of role in the shift to the knowledge economy. It is hoped that the African nation will therefore provide the facilitating conditions in all the sectors of their economies in order to implement the identified factors for a successful transition into the knowledge economy. The study does recommend the establishment of national communities of practice that can tailor global knowledge to local needs. The study also recommends that since education appears to be very key, as an enabling factor, that there should be expansion of secondary and higher education curriculum to include vocational technology, education, and indigenous knowledge management. While strongly advocating the continuity of indigenous languages, it is also suggested that the use of the English language should not be neglected in our institutions of learning in order to boost international trade. The study recommends that future studies explore the contextual implementation of each pillar of the knowledge economy in each African nation, with the possibility of coming up with the knowledge management systems that can be adopted for effective implementation. I wish to acknowledge the support that I received towards this conference with the partial help of the National Research Foundation Fund, which I received through my PhD supervisor, Professor D.N. Ochola, who also encouraged me and made valuable remarks for the improvement of this conference paper. These are some of the selected references. Thank you.